coming to you today with a student loan cancellation update. So it's going to be two C's, cancellation and crisis, right? Because we are in crisis. Student loan debt is the second largest consumer debt after mortgages. The difference, though, is your mortgage and your home accumulates equity, which means it's increasing in value. And not that your education doesn't, but value of a degree is lowering as our educational requirements are going up and up, right? So today's segment, we will be talking about student loan cancellation and the crisis. So I have a few screen share articles here to go through that I want to just go over a few things. I mean, Yahoo released 2 days ago an article that I thought was really interesting. I'm going to go over and I'm going to talk a little bit about some other aspects of cancellation. So basically, the article is saying that the president is backing away more and more from his promise to cancel $10,000 in student loan debt. It also talks about initially there was a proposal of $50,000, but they're skeptical that will ever pass. And right now, the article says 43 million, but it's actually closer to 45 million owe a balance of almost $40,000. And actually, before the pandemic, 4 out of 5 Americans, which is 80% of Americans, were unable to pay their full student loan payment. So if you're in that boat, like before the pandemic, it was a struggle for you to pay. Well, guess what? 80% of Americans weren't even paying their full balance. I'm going to create another video on the implications of your student loan interest and what happens when you enroll in like income-driven plans that don't pay the full amount of interest. I'm going to make a full video around that, so stay tuned for that. But meanwhile, literally your interest is accumulating, right? And it's really important that if you file into one of these plans, that you continue to file, otherwise your interest will capitalize. And I'll make a special video, but this article here highlights how the Brookings Institute did a recent survey basically providing a lot of data to back up that student loan relief would be a huge economic engine to our country, because now it would lead people with student loan debt like you and me to be able to invest, change our financial behavior, invest in other things like returning to school, starting businesses, etc. So I don't actually think they summarized the Brookings Institute article well, which I actually read with charts. I can go over that as well, but basically it indicated that we're more likely to invest in our shorter term financial health and well-being if we freed up that cash that now we have to worry about going into student loans, right? So anyways, that is what I found to be interesting. This is the part that I think I want to capture. The White House said that at the beginning of April, the president asked his education secretary, which I did a video on this, by the way, prior, to investigate his authority to forgive up to $50,000 of debt. More than 7 weeks later, it's reasonable to think the verdict will come soon, maybe within days. So the verdict hasn't come around yet in terms of, does he really have the authority to forgive the $50,000? But don't get your hopes too high, the article is saying, because, Biden himself isn't even in favor of doing the full $50,000. But at least we're investigating it and figuring out from a legal front what's happening, right? I also want to highlight really quickly this article on borrowers from 25 to 34, which is, by the way, it's the age in which we're thinking about buying homes, getting married. It's a really critical age. But basically, those between 25 and 34 there's 15 million of us that owe student loan balances, they say here, of 33 plus. Actually, no, that's not true. We owe 40. Our cohort that's younger than us owe about 33. That's because we're going back to grad school, right? And that's what makes us owe higher debt balances, actually. And of course, they recommend refinance, which seems to be the trend for these articles because, they can make money off refinance. But that doesn't mean refinance is necessarily right for you. So here's the thing. When you refinance, you lose opportunities to enroll in federal programs, or you lose enroll in federal programs to reduce your payment, you also lose ability to get interest forgiveness or loan forgiveness in the future. So just beware every time you read these articles and it says you can reduce your student loan by doing X, Y, Z, right? Let's check out this Forbes article real quick. Biden drops student loan forgiveness from latest budget. Oh, that's not good. Let's see here. Let's see what he's talking about. Oh my gosh, I hate the number of ads that pop up when I open Forbes. That's just life, I guess. According to Washington Post, Joe Biden will not include student loan cancellation in his annual budget. Okay, that's really bad setback, because even if the Secretary of Education comes back and says, hey, you have the authority to forgive $50,000 by law, he's not actually putting it into his budget. That is not good news. Let's see what else. Based on the latest news on student loan cancellation, it's easier to read the writing on the wall about where Biden stands on his executive authority to cancel student loans. It's not that Biden doesn't support the student loan cancellation. He does. However, Biden wants Congress, not the president, to enact student loan cancellation legislation. And here are 5 reasons why he won't enact student loan cancellation. Geez, okay, it's looking like the odds are stacked against us. Biden would have canceled student loans already. Okay, that's true. I don't know why he has to wait for Congress when he hasn't waited for Congress to enact so many other things, right? Biden has focused $2.3 billion of targeted piecemeal student loan cancellation. Okay, so that is referring to the disability discharge and a bunch of other items. Here, we can click on what they mean by this. Right here, let's see, $1 billion is spent on... First, Biden canceled $1 billion of student loans, for the 72,000 borrowers who basically needed, who were defrauded by public universities, right? That was a huge one. And the borrower defense, basically those that filed complaints and needed borrower defense funds, he refunded those programs. And then he canceled $1.3 billion of student loans for 41,000 permanently disabled borrowers, which is great news. So he's done kind of piecemealed approach to that. That's what it meant. I did a video on that recently as well, on what Biden had funded. And then, of course, the end of CARES Act, the end of COVID-19 will reduce the odds of student loan cancellation. The student loan payment pause is expected to expire. Okay, I don't understand why that's a reason why he won't enact it. Is it because he didn't extend it, therefore that means cancellation's low? I don't really know Forbes' reasoning behind that. But Democrats are focused on other forms of student loan forgiveness, such as proposing to forgive student loans for changes, with 4 changes. Okay, so they're basically like, this is what they're doing. It's very similar to what Obama did. And what Obama did was make all student loan plans eligible, okay? Because right now the program's very complex, right? Student loan borrowers shouldn't have to work in public service when they get student loan forgiveness. I mean, that's already true. You don't have to be a public service employee. You could still get forgiveness through the income-driven repayment program. The difference is right now, the way the laws are written is you have to technically pay tax on them still. So that's where I think some of the barriers come in. Okay, share information across federal and state government. Okay, so right now, states, there's state-specific and employee and profession-based forgiveness, and none of them communicate to each other. So they all effectively work in conflict, and that's what I think Forbes means. And so right now, essentially what this Forbes article is implying is that Biden will do similar to what Obama did, which is he will forgive student loans by rewriting the current program and grandfathering all those people that are underway with the current forgiveness programs, and not just do a blanket blanket forgiveness because it's harder to get Congress or even himself behind blanket forgiveness. Whereas if you write program or rules and people comply with those rules, it's easier to forgive student loans that way, as well as respect the prior program rules that will make forgiveness programs easier to manage, understand, and implement. That's the way the government works. They work in this like slow change, let's make it better, and not like massive forgiveness or massive. That's just the government, how the government works. It works in this piecemeal, slow approach because it's easier to get buy-in from all these congressional representatives, and it's not viewed as such crazy amount of change that the Department of Ed and the servicers themselves can't even manage, right? And we saw with what a mess the CARES Act and just pausing payment did. Like, people got dinged for late payments, bad credit, all kinds of issues. So we can see the government's going to have a really hard time to roll out any blanket forgiveness and massive amount of change. They almost want to like roll out small change and give the servicers time to adjust to the small change than blanket changes. So anyways, all I'm saying is, look, don't rely on massive amount of student loan forgiveness, at least for the time being. Forbes is skeptical. Forbes is, writing articles about the 5 reasons Biden won't forgive student loans. And I would like to share that, listen, regardless of your situation, there is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. There are forms of forgiveness you can enroll in. Also, the pandemic brings $0 payments, but you can enroll in programs right now that extend lower payments, especially if you've been financially hit by this pandemic, lost your job, lost income. If that's the case, it's a prime opportunity to enroll in a income-driven repayment program so that we can extend lower payments for you. If you're confused on how to do that, we have student loan advisors on standby who will help you not just strategize on how student loans fit into your overall financial picture, but we can also assist you in managing your servicer and managing these programs so you can be financially successful and achieve your goals. If you like this video, please subscribe, and we're on standby here to help you.